Welcome into SBR NBA closing line show for Saturday, May 25th. We got Ian, Cameron, Ski Prophet, myself, Drew Martin, breaking down tonight's Game 6, Milwaukee at Toronto. Best NBA game I can remember in quite some time, Ski. I'm pretty excited to talk about tonight's game, man. Welcome into the show. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, and yeah, it's a great game. I mean, LeBron out of the playoffs, it's been nothing but exciting. We don't know what's going to happen. Every game, every series, I mean, it's a toss-up, so I'm loving it.
Absolutely. The Warriors are waiting on the other end. And Ian, welcome in. I know north of the border, you're excited, man. Your Toronto Raptors, one game away from the NBA Finals. Welcome to the show. Good morning to you.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement. This is I could only imagine Saturday night downtown Toronto. You hope the weather clears up because it's supposed to be showers and thunderstorms all day, which hopefully is not a foreshadowing of what's to come tonight. But rain on the parade, so to speak. But it's supposed to, I think, potentially clear up before game time, so it could be nice weather by the time the game starts outside. I mean, the people outside the arena have been incredible. Flocking out in droves, even in the last home game, Game 4. Imagine tonight, Saturday night, a chance for the Toronto Raptors to clinch their first NBA Finals appearance in franchise history. You're talking about not only a significant moment for the Raptors franchise, it's for basketball in Canada. Basketball in Canada keeps getting stronger, keeps getting bigger by the year. There's more and more talent, basketball talent and players being developed in Canada. And Canadian players wanting to get into basketball, more than they ever have before. And you look at the NBA, you look at the college ranks. So moments like this, the Toronto Raptors may be going to their first NBA Finals. This is more about the franchise. This is more about an NBA team. This is about what it's doing for the excitement, enthusiasm, interest, and future growth of basketball in the country of Canada. It really is.
Absolutely, man. And the Raptors looking good. It's good to see the whole country of Canada getting behind them, too. It looks like good atmosphere there. We got a bunch of people in the chat box. Welcome in, guys. Happy Saturday morning to you. Cody, Rod, good morning to you. Scott, Elio, Ski Prophet himself in the chat box. Peter Russell, what is up? Gabriel Hernandez needs a winner. Birthday coming up next week. He's heading to Cancun to celebrate. Ladies of the night are waiting for him. So hopefully we can grab him some winners. Best bets have been good. Ski Prophet has been on a run with his best bets. So at the end of the show, we'll put them out there to the watchers. We got Milwaukee at Toronto. Looking at the SBR odds right now, seeing 212.5 as the total. -2, that's Toronto laying at home. It's pretty much across the board right now. Bovada is showing a 2.5. Ski, I'll come to you first, man. As far as Game 6, what are you thinking here as far as sidewise? Toronto -2. You think they move on?
It's a tough call for me. I mean, 3 games ago, we couldn't see Toronto winning one game. And now here we are. Not too many people see the Bucks winning tonight. Just from watching the game, it looks like Toronto has Milwaukee figured out. Either that or just Giannis is, I don't know. I don't feel like he's, how do I say? I don't feel like he's dishing out, like he's going into the paint and not looking to find anybody. He's just looking to finish for himself. And if that doesn't happen, there's going to be 3 people down there. You have to facilitate, and he's not doing it. So I'm hoping that will change tonight and it'll be much better on their side. Another thing, as far as the last game, the thing that tipped the edge for the Raptors was 3-point shooting. They shot about 43 or 42%, and the Bucks shot 32%. And a big part of that was Van Fleet. He was 7 for 9 for 3. And I mean, that's not ordinary. He's a career 39% 3-point shooter. He's been 10 for 12. That's like 83% the last 2 games. So he's going to come down to earth at some point. And the Bucks haven't been shooting too well. So I'm honestly thinking, I know we haven't seen it and we've been expecting them to have a good game, but I'm thinking we get that effort from the Bucks tonight. And another thought, just a random thought. Do we really want Memorial Day with no NBA?
I don't, man. I think that would be great to have a Game 7 to finish off Memorial Day weekend, man. So that'd be a fun one. Some guys in the chat box throwing out some philosophies as far as the NBA does want Game 7 from Jay Stanley. Also, when saying that the NBA would want to extend the series. That is one philosophy as well. Makes sense money wise. And like Skee saying, having an NBA game on Monday, all pointing towards Milwaukee being able to turn it around though, and that's a big if, Ian. We're seeing Toronto -2 here. What are you thinking in Bucks Raptors tonight?
I'm thinking the only bet I'm going to make right now is Toronto in the first quarter, because I do think they're going to feed off. This is a huge moment. I could see them coming out strong. Maybe Milwaukee withstanding a punch like Toronto did the other night in Milwaukee in Game 5, and then steadying the ship, getting the game close, and maybe having a chance down this wire, down the stretch to maybe win this game. So I like Toronto first quarter. Other than that, I don't have a strong opinion either way, side or total on this game. Very, very tricky. I just think the Raptors going to come out strong because how unbelievable that crowd's going to be, in the very first quarter, looking to, try to finish this series. So I could see a good first quarter from the Raptors. Look, we need some of these, the bench has been the story. The bench has been the story, and Kawhi has outplayed Giannis. I mean, that's really the two main differences in the last 3 games. It really is. Norman Powell's come to life. Kyle Lowry's been good. Serge Ibaka's given them some big minutes and big production. Marc Gasol, not so much offensively last game. Marc Gasol, 2 games in Toronto, he was better offensively, but his defense, his rebounding, his blocked shots at the rim, his rim protection, all of that stuff, he was giving you that for the Raptors. And then, of course, Fred VanVleet, where apparently having the birth of your son gets you out of a funk. We found that out with Fred VanVleet, because in the 2 games since the birth of his kid, Game 4 and in Game 5, it's looking like the old Fred VanVleet, who's found his shot again and done a tremendous job, obviously, with shooting threes, big threes, timely 3-pointers as well in the road win in Milwaukee in Game 5. The Raptors bench has stepped up. The Bucks bench has not stepped up. You've not seen Pat Connaughton, for instance, have the kind of impact he's had in past seasons. Where the hell, by the way, has Chris Middleton gone? I mean, this is the guy that I've got to look at and put a check mark beside if I'm going to win a road game tonight here in Game 6 to keep my season alive if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks. I need Chris Middleton to come back and be the Chris Middleton we know he can be shooting the basketball, because it hasn't been good enough from him. And you got to give Nick Nurse credit. They've made the conscious effort to get Giannis looked after defensively, more so by Kawhi than anyone else, throw multiple defenders, big body defenders at him, and he's rattled. He's not getting that, it's like the freight train leaving the station. That's Giannis's game. Freight train leaves the station, he tries to just drive the lane. He's not being allowed that ability to drive the lane by the Toronto Raptors, and instead he's forcing up bad shots, or he's turning the basketball over in that paint area, and he's not, as Skee mentioned, he's not passing out of the double team or even the triple team, and he has been tripled at times even. He's not doing that enough. So he's got to make better decisions. The bench for Milwaukee has to step up. There's no question. Mike Budenholzer, is he panicking a little bit? Because Game 5, he changes the starting lineup, puts Malcolm Brogdon in there. And I know the TNT crew just, absolutely hammered him all night for it, saying, okay, putting Brogdon in the starting lineup means your bench is depleted, even more. Who's going to give you that burst? Who's going to give you that energy off the bench? Who's going to be that guy that turns the tide for you if things are going, awry a little bit and going to get it going? You lose that with putting Brogdon in the starting lineup. Mirotic has been a disaster in this series, so I don't argue with that by any stretch of the imagination, but you just weaken your bench doing that. And obviously we've seen the Raptors supporting cast step up. So Raptors have won every home game, but we said that about Milwaukee going into Game 5. This is a game where I could see anything happen. Anything happen. I could see Toronto winning, close game. I could see Toronto blowing them out because maybe Milwaukee's backs are broken, or I could see Milwaukee winning. I really could. This is, Kawhi is not going to feel pressure. He's not. Okay, he's just wired in a way that pressure doesn't rattle him. He's not going to feel it. The other guys, I'm not so sure. For Kyle Lowry, for instance, he's been here through the good, the bad, and the indifferent times with the Toronto Raptors. Is he going to have that big game? Is the pressure not going to get to him or some of these other guys? It won't get to Kawhi. Will it get maybe to some of these other guys? That's the question mark. The only thing I really feel good about, though, is Toronto in the first quarter. That's the one I'm going to stick with because I do think momentum carrying over from the big Game 5 win, crowd being just absolutely deafening, I'm sure, at the start of that game tonight. They'll ride that wave of momentum at least for the first 12 minutes. So the bet I've got is Toronto first quarter.
Yeah, I like that look as well. I could see him coming home north of the border, the whole country behind him coming out, guns blazing for sure. Skee, coming to you? As far as this breakdown goes, Giannis didn't look good last game, and it's almost like has Toronto, what's the saying? Figured out this riddle here of what Milwaukee's doing, or do you think that going on the road, getting out of Milwaukee, the Bucks can come back and kind of bounce back here and make a game 7 out of this?
There's a couple of things that Ian said that I want to touch on, Drew, and I'll answer your question after that. But Ian said that he would look towards Toronto in the first quarter, and I mean that would be a way that I would look at betting Toronto if I'm betting them in this game. Bucks are 2-8-1 last 11 first quarters against the spread. Raptors are 4-2 last 6 first quarters, and coming out at home, I definitely would give them the edge. You could see it just like you saw the last game. The Bucks came out strong. Raptors punched back. So I agree with that there. And about what you said, Drew, they figured Giannis out. I feel like I felt that way against the Celtics in game 1, and then it turned around. But my personal opinion, Ian also said that when Brogdon is starting, that the bench is depleted. I liked what I saw. I mean, he doesn't have to start to be in the game or to finish the game or play with the great lineups. He can come in and he can still finish the game. I like what I saw from him finishing the game from the point guard position, and Giannis playing more off ball. But when they're starting, I would like to see Bledsoe out of the game because he's not a shooter. I would like to see. I mean, Bledsoe looked great playing next to Brogdon. Bring Bledsoe in with Brogdon off the bench and put George Hill, another 3-point shooter, put Chris Middleton, put Giannis, put Mirotic or Ilyasova, whoever you want to put, and Brook Lopez. The floor is spaced. Giannis can do whatever he wants. And whenever somebody helps, he can pass. With Bledsoe, you have somebody, you don't care about him out there. You can sit in the paint and wait. So I understand what's going on. I think Budenholzer is a good enough coach to make the adjustment. I don't think he makes it. I don't know what he does with the starting lineup, but I do trust him to make an adjustment throughout the course of the game. So I agree with what Ian said as far as the first quarter, and I think the Bucks punch back throughout the rest of the game. A couple stats on the full game spread, really quick for the Bucks side. When the spread is +1 to +3.5, Bucks are 6-2. They're 8-2 as a road dog. It's one more against the spread on the road after a loss. They're 10-2 straight up and against the spread. So I'm liking the Bucks on the spread side here as far as a full game.
I like the breakdown, Skee, and a bunch of people in the chat saying different things each way. Force Giannis to shoot jumpers, and they are done from eye touch. Ian, come back to you, man. Are you seeing anything in the second half outside of the first quarter? I know that you said that's kind of the only thing you feel strongly about, but do you have any leans for the second half?
In the second half, it would be one of those situations when it's like this every game. I got to see where the game is at halftime, and then we jump in with something in the second half. I'm more of that kind of thinker when it comes to second half. I don't think 10 hours before the game what the second half I would be looking at. But that's all predicated on where the game is going to be and what the score is going to be when it's at halftime going into this game. But if it's close, if the Milwaukee Bucks are within 5 points, they're going to feel good about themselves, at halftime, much like Toronto did the other night. Toronto was down by 3 at halftime in Game 5. And I think being right in the game at halftime is what allowed them to have the confidence and the ability to say, hey, we can win this game on the road. We can take a 3-2 lead and give ourselves a chance to wrap up this series back home in Toronto. And they did just that. So that's the key for Milwaukee. Don't get blitzed in the first quarter, first half. Don't be in a position where you're down 15, 20, 25 points at halftime. Be with 10 points or less. You're going to have a puncher's chance that way. So if it's close, in that range, looking at Milwaukee second half might not be a bad option. If they're able to keep it close, backs against the wall, season on the line. Look, I know Toronto has looked like they've got them figured out completely. It's been that way for 3 games. But we're still talking about a team that had a tremendous season, incredible amount of wins, number 1 seed in the East. It's not like this team, just because they've lost 3 straight for the first time all year, is complete garbage all of a sudden. It's still a good basketball team. now for the first time playing with the urgency and desperation level of having their season end if they lose tonight. So I don't expect Milwaukee to go down without a fight. I'm not laying the 2 with Toronto full game. I can tell you that right now. This is a tricky game for me to call from a full game perspective. I do like Toronto to have a better of it in the first quarter. But my advice would be, if it's a 10-point or less margin at halftime, lead for Toronto. Let's put it that way. Lead for Toronto. If it's a Milwaukee lead, I wouldn't play it. But if it's a Toronto lead of 10 points or less at halftime, I think looking at the Bucks in some form in the second half might be a decent way to go, because they're going to feel we've got a chance. We're in this thing. Season on the line. Let's give it all we got second half. So Milwaukee second half, the Raptors are up by 1 to 10 points. That would be something I'd be interested in, perhaps.
Good stuff.
And that could be an opportunity for first half full game prop. You could take first half Raptors, full game Bucks, and probably get a nice little plus money on there. And I said that the Bucks are fade on the first quarter. Raptors have also been 19-6 last 25 first halves against the spread. So I definitely like the Raptors earlier, the better, and Bucks as the game goes on.
What was that stat, Skee? 19-5, you said?
Toronto 19-6 last 25 games, first half against the spread. And first quarter for the Milwaukee, they're 2-8-1 first quarter, and Toronto is 4-2 last 6.
Man, so first half and first quarter pointing towards Toronto there. To what Ian was saying earlier as well. Guys, we got to hit this total a little bit. 212 or 212.5 across the board, depending where you're shopping on SBR odds right now. Heritage and Bet Online, low watermarks here at 212. Pretty much everyone else at 212.5. Ian, you want to jump in here on the total or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the total here, we haven't had 200s in a row in this series yet. And we're talking about now look at the totals so far we've had in this series. We've had 218.5, 219, 221.5, 216.5, 215.5, 212, 212.5. Now, this is by far the lowest total that we have seen here in this series. I think you got to look over the total, to be honest with you. Mike Budenholzer and the Bucks say, and they said this after Game 5, our best offense is our transition offense. And it's clear as day when you watch the Bucks play basketball, especially in this series against a defensive opponent the caliber of the Toronto Raptors. When they are forced to execute in the half court and just against a set defense and have to try to execute and make their shots, make their passes, run their sets against a half court setup defense, that's when they're not good. That's when Milwaukee has had a ton of issues in this series. Their best offense is off a missed shot from the Raptors, off a turnover, getting that ball down the court as fast as possible. And the coaches even emphasized this even more going into Game 6. We got to create a frenetic pace of play. That's when we're at our best, when we're not having to force up shots and having to execute against a defense that's got all set up. Scramble defense, when the defense is not set, well, when everybody's out of position, trying to get back in transition, that is when Milwaukee can kill you. And that's why Milwaukee got out to that 18-4 lead early in Game 5. Raptors were haphazard with the ball. They treated it like a hand grenade the first few minutes of that game. A lot of turnovers early, and it fueled what Milwaukee was doing offensively. That is going to have to be the case here tonight. You got to. I would try to. I don't want to say do full court, because not many NBA teams do full court press or anything like that. Hardly anybody does. But I would try to get some trapping situations tonight more than usual if I'm Milwaukee. You got to try to really force turnovers even more than normal. Your season's on the line. You've clearly shown through 5 games of this series, your best offense comes from transition and off turnovers. Try to force more. Try to put some kind of little, even a half court press, even just try to put, Toronto in situations where they're going to have to be very good with the basketball, make quick decisions, tough decisions in crowded space. I think if you're Milwaukee, you've got to try to ramp this pace up even more, because your half court offense has done squat, for the last few games in this series when Toronto's been able to set up in the half court defensively. That would be my mindset for Milwaukee. So I do think there's value 212. I know that last game really bogged down. There's some guys from Milwaukee that, to me, have to shoot better, have the capability of shooting better, I think can. And Toronto, you talk about how their bench and their role players have stepped up and they're shooting better now. you got to think they're still going to shoot well in this game. They're at home. You know what we say, the supporting cast, you always have more confidence. You have a little bit more comfort shooting the ball and are a little bit more aggressive at home than you are on the road. I expect to see it that way for Toronto. So with this being by far the lowest total of the series, with Milwaukee talking about we got to try to force more turnovers in this game, which usually when you're talking about trying to force more turnovers, that means that's going to be an increase in pace just a little bit as well. So I'm going to go over the total here, 212 in most spots.
Okay, Ian, like in the over, we got Nolly Nose bringing up a good point here. The way Kawhi holds the ball in the defense the Raptors are playing, I'm looking at the under. I was thinking that way as well, Skee. Not a strong opinion either way, but kind of leaning towards the under with the Bucks backs up against the wall, getting back on defense in a closeout game. What's your opinion here on the total 212 or 212 and a half?
I tend to agree with Noli and you, Drew. And I heard Ian say too that I heard him explaining it, and it pretty much sounded like he expects defense. He expects the Bucks to force turnovers. He expects the Bucks to play much better defense. I keep saying I don't know what I'm saying. I'm not saying Bucks, but he expects the Bucks to play much better defense. And I mean that spells under to me. And Noli said Kawhi holds the ball. Yeah, I mean when they need a bucket, that's who they're going to go to. When I'm thinking about this game, I hear what he's saying. If I like points early. I mean, I've been going to in the past couple games. I've been going to first half overs and first quarter overs, and I mean, first quarter over has been around 53-ish for the past few games, and right now it's at 52.5. It's went over 53 for the 5 games. If you like points, I mean, the starting lineup is going to stay in the damn near majority of the first quarter, and then they're going to come out. And we've seen a dry spell when they do come out, and we see that defense pick up and more missed shots. So if you like the over, I would take it in the first quarter today at 52.5. But like I said, I have to agree with Drew and Noli. I think it'll be more intense defensively. I think Kawhi will be holding the ball. Giannis will hold the ball. And I think we'll see a different offense. Like I was explaining how they should run their offense, I think it will be different today. And a couple stats, game 6 and 7, under is 98 and 71. That's 58%. And if the total decreases or stays the same, under is 68, 46. That's 59.6%. And if majority of the bets are on the over, the under is 90 and 60%. So full game, I'm looking at under. Toronto is also under 12 of their last 17 games. I will say for the Bucks, they went over 8 of their last 9 road games. So they do like to play with pace, but just being an elimination game and being game 6, I think we pay more attention to detail on defense. And it's a much more slower approach to the offense. We need buckets for sure. So I would lean under.
Good stats there, Skee. Lot, and some of them were long trends as well. That's always interesting. And guys, we're going to hit a little bit on today's MLB card as well, and any other bets that the guys want to throw out. Feel free to chime in on the chat box what you're betting today and why. Feel free to market it any way you'd like. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, as well as every Saturday and Sunday throughout the summer here. Skee Profit on Twitter at Skee Profit, and Ian Cameron on Twitter at Bobano, and myself on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Ian, let's hit the MLB just real quickly here for today's slate. Anything you're looking at to bet on the Saturday MLB card?
Yeah, baseball continues to be pretty good for me, so we're enjoying the season. But can't always say that about baseball, at least in my past. But this season's been a good one for me so far. So hopefully we got some good stuff here on Saturday. A couple of interesting games here. Miami, Washington we got to start there. Alcantara against Corbin. If you want a late minus 215 with Washington, be my guest. I don't know how the hell you'd want to do that, to be honest with you. This is not a team playing great baseball. They did come back and won the series opener last night. Crazy game, 12-10. But I don't know, small flyer on Miami at this price. You have to. because that loss last night from Miami actually snapped what was a 6-game winning streak for them. They had been playing their best baseball of the season, the Miami Marlins. And unfortunately, last night, their pitcher didn't pitch well. Their bullpen gave up the game. But if you think Miami's got bullpen issues, pale in comparison to Washington. Washington's got probably the worst, if one of the worst, but maybe the worst bullpen in baseball. Obviously, their lineup got going last night. Corbin, you don't know what you're going to get game to game. Alcantara is not exactly a pitcher I'm enamored with by any stretch, but this is just a favorite that's got no business being minus 215 right now with the way they're playing, with the turmoil off the field. There's some people starting to wonder about Dave Martinez's future and job security as the manager of this team with how badly they've played and how badly they've underachieved. I think you got to look at Miami in some form, and the over stands out too. You got 2 offenses hitting. You've got 2 bullpens that are not good. 2 bullpens that are taxed. They had a long game last night. You got 2 starters that are iffy here. So to me, the over makes sense, and I would take a little chance on Miami. It's plus 195, and to me, Washington can't be laying that price even against the Marlins right now.
Yeah, Ian, interesting price. I was looking at that one as well, and you're talking about the Marlins. Don't look now, but one of, if not the hottest team in baseball. Surprising there. Mario in the chat box saying Padres money line. Easy explanation is Edwin Jackson on the mound for the Jays. So fading Edwin Jackson. Skee, what about you? Anything you're looking at on the MLB card, or any WNBA, any other sport that you're betting today?
I didn't look too closely, but just things that catch my eye when I'm looking at it right now. Maybe you guys will have an opinion. Oakland against Seattle, is maybe that line a little too low? Minus 121. Oakland. I don't think Seattle's been that great this year. I would expect maybe runs, and I would think that line is too low for Oakland. The only other game that I really just looked at was Texas and the Angels. I know when Mike Minor starts for Texas, it's usually more so, I want to say, under games, and I don't think he gets that much run support. So I know I want to say Angels play to unders at home. I could be mistaken. No, I'm probably mistaken, but I think that game could be an under game. I'm looking at maybe those 2.
Okay. Yeah, and Mike Minor's been really good from the left side, as is Skaggs. So,
and Angels can't hit lefties. Angels cannot hit lefties. That should be a positive matchup for Mike Minor. Underdog price with Texas. I actually like Texas in that game, to be honest with you. They're playing the better ball. Angels without Simmons, that hurts them from a defensive standpoint. One of the best shortstops defensively in baseball, and even his offense you're going to miss, because he'd been had a pretty good year at the plate. As well for the Angels. So you lose, a guy that's been playing well on both sides right now, offense and defense. So, and Angels, again, they blow it last night. They lose 4-3 in the series opener. They got crushed by Minnesota earlier this week in that series against they're unconscious right now, the Minnesota Twins. What an unbelievable team they are right now. Incredible job by them, but Angels didn't have a good series against them. It's 2 teams going, a little bit in opposite directions. Oh, here's one that stands out like a sore thumb. I got to bring this up, baseball. This is probably my favorite play on the board today. You're telling me the Atlanta Braves and Mike Soroka, the way he's pitching right now, is only minus 110? Really? Wow. I think that's an absolute steal. I love Soroka, and it's not just because he's from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It's not just because of that. Michael Soroka is pitching fantastic for the Atlanta Braves lately. This team is playing good. They crushed St. Louis in the series opener last night. I don't like the current form of the Cardinals right now. They're not hitting. Their starting pitching's up and down. Their bullpen's been a little bit spotty in recent games. Atlanta's the team in better form. I don't like Dakota Hudson a whole lot for the Cardinals. He's been inconsistent. He's been roughed up on more than one occasion. Atlanta's bats are smoking right now. Freeman, this Austin Riley kid's been outstanding since he got called up. Freeman, Markakis, Ronald Acuna Jr. continues to be terrific as well. Swanson, he's been hitting good. He had a home run last night. You got Atlanta, the better team right now, in better form, the better starter. And only an even money price. Yeah, sign me up. Give me the Braves there. I think that's my favorite play today.
Nice. Yeah. I like it as well. Soroka has been good. And Cody saying, "Oh, Canada," like in your Canada antics there. Big game in Canada tonight with the Toronto Raptors, Milwaukee Bucks, and we'll likely be talking about it in Best Bets. Skee, coming to you. Anything else you want to throw out before we get to Best Bets?
I don't have a play on WNBA today. I will have a play on the Sparks and Aces game tomorrow. I mean, I looked at it really quick this morning while I was trying to look at NBA as well, and I was kind of interested in the Connecticut Sun, but the line was -3, and then less than 30 minutes later, it's -5. So um, I still think, I mean, I like the Sun and the under in that game, but I won't be having a play on it. You kind of want to follow the line moves in WNBA. The people betting these lines are people who actually know what they're talking about, and then that the other game, the Storm game, I was watching the line. Um, it went up from 159 to 162, and then it dropped all the way back down to 158.5. So I'm just watching and just seeing how teams play a first game. But tomorrow, I will have a play on the Sparks versus Aces game. That should be a really great game.
All right, and we can talk about that on tomorrow's show as well. Ian, is there anything else you wanted to throw out on today's card before we get to best bets?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking over. Oh, just an interesting one. You've got Cal Quantrill on the mound for the San Diego Padres in his home country. He's the son of Paul Quantrill, who was a major leaguer from Canada many years ago. Actually pitched for the Jays a little bit, Paul Quantrill, his dad. He's going to be starting in Toronto. You know, he's going to have family and friends there, all kinds of people supporting him, I'm sure, in that game against Edwin Jackson and the Jays. I don't know. That price looks dirt cheap to me on San Diego. -120 in my opinion. Quantrill's going to be fired up. Family and friends in the ballpark in Toronto nearby coming to support him, watch him pitch here today. Blue Jays lineup. I know they called up Cavan Biggio yesterday, son of Craig Biggio, Hall of Famer. In fact, yesterday, the big deal in Toronto was, you know, you got Cavan Biggio and Vlad Guerrero Jr. First time ever you've had two sons of two Hall of Fame baseball players playing for the same team in Major League Baseball history. So very interesting there, but it didn't help them last night, unfortunately. They lose 6-3 to San Diego. This lineup has still got issues. The starting pitching, like Edwin Jackson, you're going to trust him today. He got bombed in his last start against Boston Red Sox. There's a reason Edwin Jackson's been on 14 teams in his Major League Baseball career because he's just not been good enough to stick anywhere. So to me, this is a cheap price. Quantrill's got a lot of upside. He's going to be fired up, revved up. He's got family and friends out to cheer him on today in Toronto at the Rogers Center. San Diego's obviously the better team and better form, so I like San Diego there at about -120.
Good breakdown there, Ian. We got Trey in the chat saying cards are only 6 and 15 in May. Give me Braves all day. Take Braves run line as well from Trey. So a lot of people liking the Braves as well. I like that look, Ian, and heck, might have to make it a best bet. Never know. Maybe Ian Cameron does. Ian, you want to lead us off with best bets? Follow him on Twitter at Bobano. He's north of the border. Yeah, are you going to be going to the game tonight? Or around the atmosphere?
No. You know what? People were asking, you going down to Jurassic Park? I mean, I'm going to be 34 years old later this year. I mean, that's more the 20s crowd that goes, I think, down to Jurassic Park. But no, that's and plus the weather's going to be a little bit dicey. Like the TNT crew might not even be able to do their pregame show outside. They've been doing it outside prior to every game. They might not be able to tonight if the weather doesn't clear up in time. But the weather's a little dicey too, so no, I'll be either staying in or going to a local watering hole in the Hamilton area to watch the game tonight. We'll see, but it won't be down to Toronto, that's for sure. But I'm going to go with NBA for best bet. I mean, it's an NBA show. I'll keep doing NBA for best bet until the end of the NBA season, although there's a lot of plays in baseball that tempted me, but we'll go with Toronto in the first quarter. Like I said, I like that one, -135. I'm going to do the money line instead. -135 Toronto first quarter. It's Toronto -1 in a lot of spots first quarter spread, but I'm just going to do the money line. Just ask them to win the quarter, which I think they can. Feed off that crowd, be energized. You know, they know they have a chance to make history tonight, so I'd expect a good step forward from the Raptors early in the game, that being, of course, the first quarter. So Toronto Raptors -135 first quarter. That'll be my best bet.
Good stuff from Ian Cameron at Bobano on Twitter. Ski Profit's been really good lately with his best bets, so I'll let him go last. I will jump on in MLB, the Texas Rangers, Mike Minor and company going up against Tyler Skaggs and the Angels. Looking for Texas with Mike Minor to win this game as underdogs, like we were talking about earlier. So I'm on Texas plus the point, plus the underdog price here at +111 I'm seeing right now on SBR odds, the Texas Rangers. And Ski Profit at Ski Profit on Twitter. What do you got for best bets, bud?
In this one, I'll stay off of the spread because it's a couple stats that lead me off of there. I can see it going either way. Maybe I'm gonna go to the total. I'm gonna go under. I think I can get 212.5. I know it's still all over the place, but under the total in the Milwaukee and Toronto game, like I said, it's went under game 6 and 7, 98 and 71, 58%. The total has been going down, and in that situation is 68 and 46, 59.6%. And I see majority of the bets on the over. And in that situation, it's went under 90 and 60%. And we talked about it. We think it's a defensive game. We see like ISO with Kawhi when they need a bucket on that side, and we think it'll be a gritty game. So the only thing that I would be scared of is overtime, and we'll just hope it's no overtime. I'm rolling with the under as my best bet.
Okay, under full game, Toronto, Milwaukee tonight. And yeah, anytime you're betting an under, you can always get OT'd. But still, you've been good with best bets. So that's what Ski Profit is on. Ian Cameron on Toronto first quarter, money line minus 135. I'm on the Texas Rangers plus 111. And Ski Profit on the under 212.5. Guys, if you could smash the like button, the thumbs up button, that would help us out. And we will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. So for Ski Profit, Ian Cameron, I am Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in, and best of luck with your bets tonight, guys.